Today I don't have enough content to make a full-length video. So what I'm doing is I'm going to put 3 shorter videos together into one longer video for you guys to watch. So we're going to do 3 things. The first I'm going to do is do a little work on the Dauntless. I need to do something with these pistons, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. The second thing I'm going to do is I also did some work on Bones, the green CJ2A. Had a little bit of difficulty with that. I want to talk about that real quick. And then finally, at the very end, if you stick around, we're going to take Ole Grey, the gray Willys MB, out for a short ride. End of season, when we're done, the MB goes back in the garage. I pull the battery, and it's done for the winter. We're snowing. It's finally starting to snow here, so it won't be only a question of time before the state starts putting salt on the road. So I want to keep these things good for another generation. Now on the Dauntless, when I pulled the pistons out of the cylinder bores, some of these piston rings were sealed in, they're stuck. So I need to try to get them loosened up so that I can get them out, clean these up, and then replace them with the new piston rings that I've got coming. Now to that end, I want to soak the bottom of these pistons in WD-40. So WD-40 is what I'll often soak parts down in my firearms restoration shop. So when I take some of these old guns apart, the things are pretty stuck. So I'll soak receivers and other parts, trigger groups in WD-40, and that helps over time loosen them up. And I'm hoping the same thing is going to happen on these pistons. Now I also told you that I would keep track of the cost for things that I've bought towards the restoration or the rebuild of that Dauntless V6. So I went to Home Depot and I bought this little tiny plastic container that I can put these pistons in. And then I also bought a new gallon of WD-40. I'm pretty sure that I will go through most of this gallon during this restoration, trying to clean things up. I've also got my parts cleaner back here, but I'm not ready for that yet. This is just trying to get things that are stuck unstuck. And as I said, I'll be putting those tallies up here, and I'll do that here as well. So WD-40, it ain't cheap. That gallon was $32.44 for this. The bin was pretty cheap, actually. The bin was $2.50. It's cheap enough that I can actually use it or throw it away when I'm done. I also went to Hobby Lobby and I bought a paint pen. A lot of the guys that are helping me, sort of coaching me in the rebuild process, are highly suggesting that I get these paint pens so that when components are done, like for instance, if I torque up cat bolts, that I mark the cat bolts with blue or with some color as soon as the torque setting is done. So I went and bought a paint pen. They're cheap. That was $1.99. So I have a nice blue paint pen. What I am doing, though, is when I pull these out over on my cart or on my rack, I labeled each position, so number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 piston, etc. And then I also labeled them in chalk on the bottom of or top of the piston. When I soak that in the WD-40, that's going to disappear. So what I wanted to do was take the paint pen and then I cleaned off some of the oil, and I'm just going to mark number 1 on the inside of the piston rod. Then I'll mark 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. as I soak these things to get those rings out. Nice. So there's number 1. So that paint will stay there, and I'll be able to keep track of these things. I think I might even put number 1 up here. Yep. All right, so there's that. So I'm going to fill the pan just high enough to get above the lands or grooves for the lands and grooves for the piston rings. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. So we'll let that sit for a day or two, and then I'll come back and I'll switch them off, and I'll keep putting... matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put... Seeing there's so much room in there, I'm going to put number 2 in there as well. Those are all pretty loose, but we'll soak it anyway. All right, let's head upstairs into the garage, and I want to show you something that I did to the green CJ2A Bones. When you get things sorted out, when things begin to work the way they're supposed to work, you get the chance or the opportunity to begin focusing on smaller and smaller things. Now, this is my 1946 Willys CJ2A. And if you've been on the channel long enough, then you will have seen all of the bigger work that I've done on this Jeep. And I will put a link to the playlist up above. So if you're interested in seeing more work done on this CJ2, then you can go look at that. We've done a lot of things to this. Everything from new fixing the alternator to fixing the cooling system to all kinds of things that really need to be done to make the Jeep more reliable, more comfortable, more usable. Anyway, so one of the things that has been true about this Jeep since I've bought it is it's never been a happy starter. It's always given me trouble. So especially after it sits. So if it's sat for a year, like over the winter time, which is, we're about to put this into storage. If it sits over the winter time, it takes a lot to prime the system. Last year or 2 years ago, I put a new fuel pump in it, and I'll put that link up here as well. And that helped a lot, transferring the fuel from the fuel tank up to the carburetor. So that did make a difference. One of the problems that I had is the Jeep did not want to turn over very fast. I checked grounds, I did all that kind of stuff. This summer, late this summer, I bought a new battery for the CJ. Turns out that battery was 12 years old. That battery was the original battery that came with the Jeep when I bought it, and I didn't realize it, or it didn't occur to me. It didn't occur to me until I pulled it out. And the battery this spring just went dead flat. It went dead. It gave up the ghost, said, I'm not doing this anymore. I went to buy a new battery, put the new battery in, And you know what? This thing has never turned over so fast. And the advantage to that is that fuel pump is working better, so it turns over faster, the fuel pump works faster, the carburetor is getting filled faster. I can even kick it down now. I mean, not kick it down, but pump it now and get fuel into the carburetor. I went to start it after the new battery, and it had been sitting for a couple months. Didn't want to start, so started, dinking around with it, and there were some vacuum leaks in the carburetor, so I fixed those. Still did not want to start, so I started going through all of the check the spark, check the gas, check all of those things that these simple engines require. One of my concerns is that I had put that fuel gauge in over the winter time, and I wired it to the switch, and I was afraid that I might have shorted something out, and that's why it wouldn't start. So I went in and disconnected the power to the fuel gauge. Didn't make any difference, so I rehooked the power back up, put the switch back in place, and went from there. Pulled the spark plug, or pulled a couple spark plugs out, grounded them, turned the thing over, and I was getting spark, but it was a very weak yellow spark. So I thought, well, okay, there's a problem. All right, I'm getting gas now. I know I'm getting gas. I can see it flooding the carburetor. So I'm thinking, why is it not starting? So again, I've owned this Jeep for almost 12 years now, and I've never tuned it up. So I went in and thought, let me just pull the distributor cap and check some things out. Let me show you what I did and some of the things that I found. When I popped this off the cap, so one of the things that I did early on is I noticed that this little piton, this little contact that's spring-loaded that goes against the top of the rotor, was stuck. It did not move at all. So I went in and I cleaned that all up, loosened it up, and now it works and springs and stays in contact with the rotor. Cleaned all those contacts. That was pretty much easy to do. I pulled the rotor off, cleaned the contacts. The contacts, again, I hadn't done any of this tune-up since I bought the Jeep. So I went in and I cleaned all the contacts with some fine sandpaper. And then thought, Bill, you got to check the gap on the points. Because again, I was getting a weak or a dull yellow spark. So I went in and I cleaned the points. Then got a feeler gauge and got the manual out. It's supposed to be 20 thousandths gap. I had about 13 thousandths gap. It wasn't quite enough. So I reset the gap on the points. Put it all back together. Came over and pumped the throttle 3 or 4 times, or 6 times, or whatever it took. Need to turn the battery back on. Pull the choke all the way out. And lo and behold, it's a happy starter. I mean, it literally starts up that fast. In the 12 years that I've owned this Jeep, it has never started that fast. So we got the RPMs creating the vacuum for the fuel. got the spark, blah, 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 and this thing just absolutely runs and it runs better, quieter, smoother, starts faster. So I guess the lesson is go tune up your engine. And like I said, this is the first time I've done this since I've owned it, and the results are unbelievable. So happy. It's cold out, but the roads are dry. The sun is sort of out. And I think I'm going to take this down the road. I wasn't going to do this for this video, but I'm going to do this. We're going to take this down the road for a short ride, and then we're going to put this one away for the winter as well. So let's go do that. And at the end of that, I'll also show you the last summer ride for the Willys MB Ole Grey. Listen guys, if you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are trying to grow this channel, and we need all of that interaction for the algorithm to say this is a channel worth watching. We're doing more work on the Dauntless. That's coming up. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next video.